I'm Jo Tilley. In today's video, we're going to be having a think about what the digital age might mean for cultural institutions. And to help us have a think about what that might mean in the real world, I've come to the Museum of Contemporary Art in Sydney. This is partly because the MCA illustrates really nicely some of the key questions we might want to think about when we're looking at what digitisation means for the future of museums and galleries. But it's also because I've been dying to see their current exhibition, Sip My Ocean by Pipilotti Rist, and in case the video inspires you to check it out in person, it's on until the 18th of February. Now, one of the reasons I've been so keen to go to this exhibition is that ads for it keep popping up in my Facebook feed. Clearly the algorithm has correctly identified me as the kind of inner city professional who's keen on a gallery blockbuster but needs to be reminded to actually get there. This kind of digital advertising is critical for cultural institutions if they're going to stand a chance of competing with the myriad of other entertainment options available to both local audiences and global tourists. In adopting online advertising, the MCA is illustrating one of the ways in which cultural institutions are taking a use it or lose it approach to increasing their engagement with potential audiences. Museums and other institutions face to some extent a double whammy in terms of the impact of digitisation. Not only is the competition for audience becoming ever more frenetic given the possibilities for online promotion, but increasingly museum collections themselves are available online. As Graham Black puts it in his book Transforming Museums in the 21st Century, why do you need a museum when you can have virtual access to millions of cultural artefacts online? Why visit a museum at all when there's so much competition in the marketplace for cultural and leisure activities? So, like many other institutions, the MCA is responding by putting technology to work to enhance the experience of both virtual and actual visitors. Their MCA app allows people to plan their trip, buy tickets, and engage more fully with artworks and exhibitions. The app uses their in-house Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to provide situation-specific info about artworks close to the user, and it not only gives visitors a commentary about artworks, the kind of 21st century version of an audio guide, but provides extra information like interviews with artists and curators in audio, video and text formats. In this way, digital innovation could be seen to value add to a visitor's museum experience. And I think this is something that's really important when we talk about engaging with young audiences who've only ever experienced the world through a digital lens. By developing interactive ways for audiences to engage with their collections and with themselves as institutions, museums are using new tools to address one of their long-standing problems. As Peter Walsh describes it, and I quote again, museums have traditionally ignored an important aspect of communication, that communication is not a monologue, but a dialogue. And museums are really making an effort to encourage that dialogue. Interestingly, it's not just interacting with the official museum-created and sanctioned digital platforms that makes a difference in terms of audience engagement. Recent research from the University of Queensland and JCU has found that encouraging the free use of smartphones and social media by young people can enhance their engagement with museums and their educational and visitor experience. Museums are taking this kind of research on board. Here at the MCA, visitors are actively encouraged to take to social media to share their experiences and their reactions to the artworks. But museums also have to contend with the first of Black's questions about how they stay relevant when so much of their collections are digitised. To keep visitors coming through the real-life doors, the MCA balances the availability of its collection online in the way that many art museums do. So when it comes to its big blockbusters, it only digitises preview trailers, details of a few selected artworks, and information such as artist biographies. But at the same time, it provides more complete access to its home collection online. But as Simon Ings writes in a recent article in New Scientist, digitisation has just as much to offer for institutions showing old school art. He gives the example of the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, which in 2017 was visited by 2.1 million people, 20 times the number the museum was designed to accommodate. Given these kinds of numbers, there's clearly still an appetite for people to see original artworks, or at least famous ones, in the flesh. In some ways, institutions like this are experiencing the opposite problem to potential redundancy. Faced with burgeoning queues, the museum is turning to digital technologies to ensure they don't incur the wrath of the crowds. These include a dedicated location-based app designed to entertain those waiting to enter, as Ing said, turning potentially fractious hordes into ad hoc communities of gamers. The museum's tech teams are also attempting to avoid delays and bottlenecks, which tend to start around 11 o'clock when the tourists, who make up 85% of the museum's visitors, finally get themselves out of bed and start their sightseeing. Using a computer program developed with Erasmus University in Rotterdam, algorithms more usually found in stock market trackers are used to predict visitor behaviour, allowing the museum to build in incentives which reduce peak time visits by around 60%, even while visitor numbers have increased by nearly half in the last 3 years. These strategies sit alongside other ways of using technology to satisfy demand. Of course, not everyone can travel to Amsterdam to see the museum, so they've developed a digitally enhanced immersive VR experience entitled Meet Vincent van Gogh, in which visitors can wander around with Vincent from the rural Netherlands to the streets of Paris, pull up a seat at the potato eater's table and step into a life-size yellow house. The idea is that this travelling exhibition stimulates genuine interest without leaving visitors feeling ripped off that they haven't seen his real work. And one step closer to the real thing is what's known as relief reproductions, which the museum has produced, which are based on 3D scans of the paintings, including cracks in the paint and traces of paint layers, which result in unbelievably accurate reproductions. Such technologies, I would argue, are a boon for cultural heritage institutions, and there doesn't appear to be any suggestion that they're backing away from embracing them. Despite successive government tightening of the purse strings, at last count, according to the Australia Council, the cultural sector contributed $50 billion towards Australia's GDP, including over $4.2 billion from the arts directly. For cultural institutions, digital technologies are helping them, like Rist, see a whole new world.